The chandelier glow of the high-end grand ballroom couldn't hide the way the room stiffened when Jamal Rivers walked in. One glance at him, quiet, composed, dressed sharp but not loud, and certain guests decided they already knew his place. A passing whisper cut the air like a cold draft. "Who let him into VIP?" Another voice added. "He's probably staff." Jamal heard every word. He didn't react. He just stood there, steady, carrying a calm that made some people uneasy. Then came the moment that cracked the night open. Richard Hale stepping in front of him, blocking his path with a forced smile. "Sir, you're not supposed to be here," he said, tapping Jamal's sleeve like testing a boundary he thought he owned. Jamal met his eyes, unshaken. Something in that silence warned that this night was about to turn. What happens next will change everything. If the story has you hooked, like the video and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales for more powerful moments. The ballroom air turned heavy the moment Richard tapped Jamal's sleeve. Conversations faltered mid-sentence. Glasses froze halfway to lips. Somewhere in the back, a violin note hung too long before dying out. For a brief second, the entire room waited, watching a quiet man in a navy suit stand still under the weight of arrogance. Jamal's voice came calm, even. "I'm exactly where I should be." That simple sentence unsettled Richard more than any shout could. He forced a laugh, the kind of brittle sound people make when they're afraid to lose control. "You've got confidence, I'll give you that. But this is a private event. Staff entrances around the corner." Laughter rippled softly through the tables. Phones tilted. Guests leaned in, sensing drama. It was the kind of cruelty that feeds on audience silence. Jamal didn't move. "Enjoy your evening," he said quietly. "You'll remember it." Before Richard could reply, Vanessa swept in, gold dress glinting under the chandelier, the scent of expensive perfume slicing through the tension. "Richard," she said sweetly, "don't waste time. Some people just don't know their place." She turned to Jamal with a smile sharpened like glass. "Honey, grab a towel. The floor's not going to clean itself." Few guests chuckled. Someone whispered, "He should just leave." Richard reached for a glass of wine and lifted it high. "Let's help him look the part." And with that, the red liquid poured down over Jamal's chest. The crowd gasped. The string quartet stopped altogether. For a heartbeat, the world went soundless except for the slow dripping of wine onto the carpet. Jamal didn't blink. He simply straightened his jacket, wiped his jaw, and said softly, "That was your biggest mistake tonight." Then he turned and walked away. Vanessa smirked. "Finally." But as the doors closed behind him, a subtle unease began creeping through the room, like static before a storm. Down in the marble corridor, Jamal's reflection followed him in the glass. He pulled out his phone, thumbed a single contact, and spoke 3 quiet words. "Execute full withdrawal." The reply came instantly. "Understood, sir." Back upstairs, Richard returned to the stage, laughing too loudly, desperate to reclaim the moment. "All right, folks, where were we? Let's toast to the biggest deal of the decade." Applause returned, nervous, unsure. Vanessa posed beside him, raising her glass as the cameras flashed. Then the first phone vibrated. Then another. Within seconds, dozens of screens lit up across the tables. Expressions shifted from tipsy pride to confusion, then alarm. The host, still smiling for the cameras, froze mid-sentence as his own device buzzed. The giant LED backdrop behind him flickered, white, then red. A message appeared in clean black text. "Contract terminated by Rivers Holdings." Whispers shot across the room like sparks. "Terminated? That can't be real. Who's Rivers Holdings?" Richard frowned, snatching his phone. "It's a mistake. Someone fix that screen." But as he scrolled, his face drained of color. Every account tied to Hale Quantum Systems showed the same notification. Frozen. Board members at nearby tables rose to their feet, calling lawyers, shouting into phones. Chaos bloomed where elegance once stood. The servers backed away, unsure whether to clear the tables or run. Vanessa clutched Richard's arm. "What's happening?" He didn't answer. His eyes were glued to a viral post already spreading online. A 30-second clip. Richard Hale dumping wine on a man's suit. The caption read, "They humiliated the investor funding their $800 million deal." Within minutes, the clip hit every feed. Guests gasped as their own faces appeared in the background. Some dropped their phones. Others turned away, ashamed. "Who was he?" Vanessa whispered. A trembling board member approached. "You just poured wine on Jamal Rivers, the man who owns the company we were signing with." The sentence landed like thunder. Silence rippled outward until even the chandeliers seemed to hum with it. Richard's voice cracked. "That's impossible." "No," the board member said quietly. "What's impossible is how fast he just destroyed us." Vanessa stumbled back, the sparkle of her gown suddenly garish under the harsh lights. Around her, whispers became judgment. Cameras turned toward her, no longer with admiration, but hunger. "Turn them off," she hissed. "Everyone, stop recording." "But you can't stop the internet." Within hours, clips of the humiliation flooded social media. #Winegate, #Rivers Revenge, #Know Your Worth. The world had chosen its side, and it wasn't theirs. By morning, Hale Quantum's headquarters looked like a battlefield of panic. Reporters camped outside the gates. Employees left in silence, cardboard boxes in their arms. Stocks plummeted faster than servers could refresh dashboards. In a quiet office uptown, Jamal watched it unfold through the glass of his skyscraper window. He wasn't smiling. Revenge wasn't joy. It was closure. His assistant entered, voice careful. "Press wants a statement, sir." "About last night." Jamal thought for a long moment. "Tell them actions have consequences. Then say nothing more." Later that afternoon, Vanessa and Richard arrived at his building. Pale, sleepless, stripped of everything except desperation. They were escorted up by security who said nothing. The elevator ride was silent except for the hum of regret. When the doors opened, Jamal was waiting by the window, sunlight framing him in gold. No suit jacket now, just a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled. "Calm authority." Vanessa spoke first. "We came to apologize." Her voice trembled. "We didn't know who you were." Jamal turned slowly. "That's the problem. You only respect power when you recognize it." Richard tried to step forward. "Please, the company can't survive without this deal. Thousands of jobs." Jamal raised a hand. "You should have thought of that before pouring wine on someone you didn't value." Silence again, heavy and absolute. He walked closer, each step echoing softly. "Do you remember what you said to me? Some people don't know their place." He looked directly at Richard. "Now you know yours." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. "We were wrong. Please, help us fix this." Jamal studied them both, not with hate but with clarity. "Fixing it would mean teaching you nothing. Losing everything. That's the only lesson left." He pressed a button on the desk. Security entered. "See them out." As the doors closed behind them, Richard turned once more. "You can destroy us, but people will forget." Jamal's reply was soft but final. "Maybe. But they'll remember what respect looks like." That night, as city lights shimmered below his office, Jamal received a message from a young intern who had been at the gala. "Thank you for showing us that silence isn't weakness." He typed back only one line. "Silence is preparation." The next day, media headlines painted him as the quiet giant who taught arrogance a lesson money couldn't buy. Meanwhile, Richard and Vanessa were forced to resign publicly, escorted out of their own building before cameras that once adored them. Sponsors withdrew, charity boards erased their names, and every door they once opened with ease now closed with quiet finality. Jamal didn't attend any interviews. Instead, he visited a small cafe on the east side, owned by the same security guard who had doubted him at the gala entrance. The man looked startled when Jamal walked in. "Sir, I'm so sorry about that night." Jamal smiled gently. You did your job. Just make sure next time, judgment isn't part of it. He left a generous tip and walked out into the crisp air, blending with the city crowd. Another face, another story. Above him, the billboard screens that once displayed Hail Quantum's logo now flashed new words. Rivers Global Initiative. Building with respect. It wasn't revenge anymore. It was restoration. The man everyone underestimated had rewritten the rules. Quietly, precisely, and without cruelty. And somewhere in the silence that followed, the city finally learned to look twice before judging who belonged. Weeks later, the noise had faded. The city had moved on to new headlines, but Jamal hadn't. He walked through the same streets where strangers once looked past him and noticed, for the first time, how different it felt when people met his eyes with quiet respect instead of judgment. Power hadn't changed him, it had revealed him. At a small community center downtown, he watched a group of young entrepreneurs pitch their first ideas. Their voices trembled, but their dreams didn't. Jamal listened, smiled, and said only, "Keep building." Not for applause. For impact. Outside, dusk settled over the skyline, washing the glass towers in amber light. Somewhere behind him, the last echoes of arrogance had finally gone silent. What remained was simple. A man who proved that dignity doesn't shout, and truth doesn't need an audience to win. And as he walked away, the camera caught one final frame. His reflection in the glass, calm and certain, the city lights flickering like quiet witnesses. If Jamal's story moved you, take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales, where real stories remind us what strength truly looks like.